For 22 years, First Citizens Bank has joined in partnership with UNC Charlotte to present the Scholars Medal to an outstanding faculty member. Our bank is celebrating its 49th anniversary in Charlotte this year, and we sincerely believe that honoring the accomplishments of educators and researchers in this community is among the best investments we can make. The Scholars Medal represents the university's highest level of scholarship and intellectual inquiry. This year's winner is an internationally renowned faculty member who's making a difference in the lives of children with developmental disabilities. Dr. Diane Browder continues the long-standing tradition of excellence as the 2009 recipient of the First Citizens Bank Scholars Medal Award.
I have short-term hopes and long-term hopes for the future for students with moderate and severe disabilities. And in the short term, I hope that they'll delight in learning, that they get really excited about the science experiment, that they discover the joy of literature that we're bringing to them. But then in the long run, I hope that that learning is durable and applies to life outcomes as adults. I hope that because they participated in a science lesson, there'll be caution in using household chemicals, or that they'll be lifelong readers, for example. That the skills we gain today, that they'll enjoy learning today, delight in learning, because I think they'll learn more if they do. But then my hope is that they'll sustain it for a lifetime.
The real measures of Dr. Browder's success lie in the impact she has had upon the lives of students with significant intellectual disabilities and their families, and in the preparation of the teachers who educate these students.
Like a lot of special educators, I went into the field of working with students with disabilities because I wanted to make a difference in the lives of people with disabilities. The motivation was human service, and the motivation was social justice and creating opportunities for people with disabilities.
When a distinguished professor is recruited to the university, it's our great hope that that professor will contribute to program development, to student development, to research in dramatic and powerful ways. Diane Browder, the Snyder Distinguished Professor of Special Education, has fulfilled those hopes in spades. Most remarkably, she's conducting research that's changing the face of what we expect from and how we support students with disabilities.
UNC Charlotte is extraordinarily fortunate to have attracted a scholar of the eminence of Dr. Browder, and indeed, she has flourished as a scholar at your institution.
Dr. Diane Browder's pioneering research in the field of special education has led to breakthroughs in teaching academic skills to students with significant cognitive disabilities, something that was considered unlikely and even impossible until recently.
In those days, in the 60s and even into the 1970s, students with significant cognitive disabilities were not in public schools. They were primarily in custodial settings or maybe even daycare settings. It wasn't until 1975 when we had the passage of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act that those students were really fully integrated into public schools, but generally in very separate, segregated settings. Folks were not really proceeding very rapidly in terms of making progress in the training process for children with significant cognitive disabilities, really until Diane Browder came along. Diane began to think outside of the box.
Dr. Browder's work exemplifies solid empirical research in an area that is an extremely difficult one in which to conduct research. She has received impressive amounts of funding. The tremendous evolution in what we know about students with disabilities and how to teach and assess them has been due almost solely to the work of Diane Browder during her tenure at UNC Charlotte.
I was really fortunate that early on I discovered the power of research to shape lives. I was able to go out and see the progress in students and to see the impact the publications had, to travel nationally and have people say to me, I read that and I used it, and my student could do things I didn't know they would ever be able to do. And that's very exciting, and that's what really fueled the passion for research. My mother gave me the gift of literacy. Before I could learn to read, she would read aloud to us, and I can remember one day when she was reading Gulliver's Travels chapter book, and we just begged her to read one more chapter. We'll get you water, we'll rub your feet. What does it take? Just read us one more chapter so we can know what comes next. And because of that, I was just so eager to learn to read. And so to be able to give the gift of literacy to students is just such a wonderful opportunity.
Dr. Browder has generated more than $12 million in research funding. Her research has resulted in the creation of a curriculum for students with significant disabilities. The curriculum is being used in school systems nationwide, including Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. Students who a generation ago would not have been given the opportunity to learn to read are interacting with literature, learning math, and mastering meaningful life skills.
All of her work fills a huge void in curriculum for children with significant disabilities. What Dr. Browder has done is she has taken all the research related to how you teach reading to a child. And again, it incorporates phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary. She has put this into this ELSB program, and we're finding as part of our research grant here that the children who are using this ELSB program are outperforming our control group children.
At the request of former U.S. Secretary of Education Margaret Spellings, Dr. Browder was named to an advisory council created to strengthen national education policy.
It is the mark of a truly exceptional scholar that her research informs national policy. And yet Dr. Browder continues to work directly with teachers to assist them in their daily task of educating their students.
When I was a doctoral student, one of my advisors told me that because I got my doctorate early, I was going to need to keep one foot in the schools. That's the best advice I ever got, because I've kept one foot in the schools and have learned from teachers and students. When I'm not sure if something's working or what's needed next, I'll go out and visit the schools to see what's happening. I love that teachers mentor me. They'll tell me what they're excited about, and they'll be very frank with me about what doesn't work.
In addition to conducting groundbreaking research and developing a life-changing curriculum, Dr. Browder has shaped the training of the next generation of education leaders as coordinator of UNC Charlotte's Special Education Doctoral Program.
The Department of Special Education has been recognized by the Chronicle of Higher Education for its intensive scholarly work. We've been ranked among the top 10 special ed departments in the nation in terms of scholarly productivity. Diane has really helped us set the bar and set a high bar for all of us here in the department. As we interview students who are applying for our doctoral program, when asked why UNC Charlotte, they say because they know that this is one of the best programs in the country.
I think what's going to be really important in this era right now is to maintain some of the gains that have been made, to continue funding research. A lot of what we've done has been possible because of federal funding for research, and that's very, very important to our work. I hope people will remember that investing in children is a long-term gain.
For those children who are most vulnerable, Dr. Browder's accomplishments have increased the likelihood that they will be able to serve a purposeful and meaningful life, living and working alongside the rest of us. I can think of no greater achievement.